Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mindful Muscle Podcast with my wonderful co-host, Jody Dolo. How are you doing today?
I'm great. If you're new here, welcome. Gio and I are two individuals who went on our own health and wellness journeys and collectively have lost and maintained a 140-pound weight loss. And we are a podcast for anybody on their health and wellness journey, but our hearts really belong to the beginner because Gio and I have been there. And Gio and I are also proof that it can be done sustainably without losing your mental health in the process. So if you're on your fitness journey, be sure to hit that subscribe button today.
Our next guest is named Barry, built by Barry. That's his Instagram handle. He has over 15 years experience and he has a passionate feel for helping people out. He also has a quick wit on Instagram, which we'll show here in a little bit. Barry, how you doing?
I'm good, guys. How are you? Thank you for having me.
It's
Being
good.
here.
It's always nice to have guests to talk to. How'd you get into fitness 15 years ago?
So during high school, I was always a little bit of a bigger kid. I was probably around 230 pounds at my peak of how big and unhealthy I was. Toward the end of high school, I decided to lose some weight, get a little bit leaner, had probably a lot to do with girls and things like that. As I made my way into college, it became a really big part of my life and a hobby that I really enjoyed, to the point that I became the authority amongst my friends as far as the results that I was getting. I was going to the gym with my friends, and my friends started to look to me as, "What's the workout today, Barry? What are we doing?" One day, one of the
Hmm.
trainers in the gym asked me if I had ever thought about being a personal trainer. By then, I had already been going to college for television broadcasting. I was working in the field a little bit. I wasn't really enjoying it. Eventually, I decided to go back to school to pursue fitness as a career. And I actually went to school to study strength and sports conditioning up in North Bay for 2 years, and started working in the business before I moved home, kind of while I was finishing up school there. And I guess the rest is history, but I'm sure we'll get into all that.
Yeah. So you said your max, you were 231 pounds. But can I ask how tall are you?
I like to say 5'10", but it's probably closer to 5'9".
Okay. Hey, I feel you. I'm 5'10 and a quarter, and I hang on to that quarter inch. Here's why I asked, because that 231 reminded me of someone.
That was my starting weight before I started focusing on health and nutrition, 231 pounds, and I'm
Hmm.
only
Amazing.
5'3".
Yeah, yeah.
Congratulations
Amazing.
on that. It's amazing to lose all that
Thank
and keep it
you.
off.
Yeah, there's a slight delay. Don't worry about it. We're just chilling in the living room. I'm glad that you said not this amazing transformation, because let's face it, the majority of America is on average, right? But average in America tends to be a little bit overweight. How can you inspire somebody who, quote unquote, I don't have an amazing transformation to make, to get into the fitness train?
I think people have to want it, right?
Hmm.
Somebody has to want to get in shape. And I think you're seeing that a lot more. You're seeing a lot more people prioritize their fitness, not necessarily for weight loss benefits, but for strength benefits and emotional benefits, and just to be a better moving adult, to have a better quality of life, understanding that making these things a priority, you may not see a huge benefit to it now, but down the road, as you get older, that's when you're going to see a lot of the benefits of the work that you put in now, especially when it comes to strength training. There's an immediate return on some of the work that you're
Hmm.
doing to see changes in your body, but if you take care of yourself now, it's going to be a lot easier to take care of yourself later. And I think that idea is becoming a lot more mainstream, which is why you're seeing a lot more people start to prioritize not just health and fitness, but specifically strength training and the idea of getting and staying strong as you get older.
Do you think COVID had anything to do with that?
I think COVID probably had something to do with the rise of fitness becoming more of a mainstream thing, not necessarily strength training, at
Mm-hmm.
home workouts, people lifting weights at home. COVID was probably a very different experience, maybe even given where you guys live in the States. You guys both live in very different parts of the States as well. So we probably had three very different experiences with COVID. But here, like, gyms were obviously closed. Like a lot of trainers, I was running online Zoom workouts with a lot of the clients that I was training in person. COVID was the catalyst for me starting my own business, which
Hmm.
basically grew out of basically running like a fitness speakeasy out of my basement that I was like, like running an illegal operation that turned into a legitimate business. That's how I ended up as a business owner. I was working at a gym that
Mm,
was forced to close and then eventually downsize to the point where a big part of what I was doing at that gym, I wasn't able to do anymore. So it just made more sense for me to move
mm.
on.
Look, conversations never go the way you intend. No, I'm interested in what you said because we are in three different locations. And where I was at the time in Texas, it seemed like COVID never happened. Like I would watch the
Yeah.
news and how restrictive Canada was and other places because I'm originally from New York. New York was. I'm like, man, are we living in the same country? Gyms opened up here real quick. Now, I don't work out in gym. I'm a home gym guy. I have a great gym. So it's good to see that. And I'm glad you were able to start your business because from my perspective, what I saw was most people who had complications from COVID had comorbidities. Those who
Hmm.
were in better shape didn't go through that. So it's important. And weightlifting is important. That's when I got into weightlifting, and that seems to be your passion. There was a quote from you from Instagram. And let's talk about it here. If you are a girl, you do not need to lift weights. And your reply was, hey, the 90s are calling. They want their fitness trends back. What's the mindset behind that? And I agree with you, but what are you combating there?
I think it just comes from a lot of this idea that women don't need to
Mm,
prioritize being strong or building muscle. It's all about high reps and pink vinyl dumbbells and toning. Fortunately, we've moved away from that in the bubble I live in, where I train a lot of women to be strong. And I'm associated with, fortunately, like a lot of very strong women who prioritize these things and see the benefits. A lot of those stereotypes and myths are just that, they're myths. If you're lifting weights,
mhm,
you're not going to, if you don't want to get bulky from lifting weights, you're not going to get bulky from lifting
mhm.
weights, right? It's silly at this point, but there are still people who believe that. At least just let that be an obstacle that keeps them from doing the things that they probably should be doing.
I still see a lot of women in Facebook groups that are like, I just want to get toned. I don't want to get too bulky. I'm like, there's so many women that want to get bulky, and we're like, it's not that easy. It's okay.
Yeah.
You will never get bulky.
Yeah, and it's certainly not going to happen overnight. Even if you are lifting weights and you end up on a path where you're building a little bit more muscle than you would like,
I
there's
know.
going to be a point where you'll have the opportunity to be like, okay, I should probably slow down. It's definitely not going to happen overnight.
Exactly.
You're going to see results you like before you see results that you don't like,
Hmm.
most
Oh, I
likely.
like that. So, what do you talk to a woman, right? I'm going to give you the platform here. Talk to a woman, tell her if they had to choose one, why should they prioritize weightlifting as opposed to cardiovascular if they had to choose one?
I think if you're going to have that conversation, you factor in people who prioritize cardio, but you also have a lot of women now who are prioritizing yoga and Pilates. And all of these things have a place. But if you only have time for one, I don't think any of those, like yoga or Pilates or cardio, have the same carryover benefits as strength training. Strength training is going to help your cardiovascular system, your flexibility. And I think some studies have shown that strength training will help with your mobility just as much as a designated mobility or yoga routine. You can't say the same
Hmm.
thing for yoga or Pilates. You can't say that those things have the same carryover to getting you stronger or helping you build and maintain muscle. Some people look at those things as recovery modalities or secondary options like yoga. I have a lot of clients look at yoga as some kind of recovery technique when in reality, some yoga classes can be really hard. If you're doing a lot of yoga on top of your strength training, you're putting yourself at risk for injury when your objective for doing yoga was to prevent those things. I think strength training has way more carryover into all of the other exercise modalities as those other exercise modalities have carryover to strength training. It's not even close.
Yeah, we agree here on the Mindful Muscle podcast because one thing I like telling people as they age is that you begin to lose anywhere between what, 1 and 5% of your muscle mass per decade unless you're strength
Yep.
training. Jody mentioned that women use this language, oh, I want to get toned. Well, another friend of ours says, you're not a printer. So don't talk about getting toned. The muscle building is what's going to give that skin that firm look that they're after, which is why we
Mhm.
should prioritize lifting. Going back to your degree, what did you specialize when you were doing your degree?
I'll be honest with you, I don't have a degree. I have a college diploma. It was originally strength and sports conditioning. While I was on my own fitness journey and losing weight, I took an interest in working with athletes. And that program made sense for probably 5 to 10 years of my career. I trained a lot of athletes, a lot of hockey players, professional hockey players, NCAA hockey players, and other athletes. And pretty much all of my clientele is general population clients. I studied there for 2 years. I went to college for broadcasting. With some of the credentials from college, I was able to carry over into the other program and turn it into a 2-year program instead of a 3-year program. We learned a lot of general fitness stuff along with sports specific stuff, which has come in handy as well. I went through the process of being a certified Olympic style weightlifting coach. I always like to point out, I didn't enjoy the work I was doing when I finished going to college for broadcasting at Mohawk College, but that skill set, video editing, photo editing, multimedia, all of that stuff has come in incredibly handy. I don't have as much time as I would like to anymore to make a lot of the higher quality. I still try my best to make content. I recycle a lot of content. And I think that I'm able to recycle a lot of content because a lot of the video content that I made is very high quality content. And so I feel very comfortable reusing that because I know how much time I put into it. That message is still going to resonate. And I know that I have the skill set if I need to throw that into an editing app and refresh it a little bit and throw it back up. It's still going to be really relevant. And it's still going to probably be better than what a lot of other coaches are putting out. And that's not to like harp on other coaches. Right? It's just like I have that skill set. So I'm fortunate.
You mentioned in your bio that lifting is for everyone. You just need to find the right entry point. How do you determine the best starting place for someone completely new?
I think, and it's actually took me a long time to realize this was a recent realization that I had, is a lot of people, you have to spend time with them one-on-one to help them get started. And for a long time, when I tried to force my way into the online training space, I would work with anybody, even like the most like bare bones beginner, would try to teach them how to strength train on their own online. And I've realized that maybe there are some people who are really good at that. It's not me. A prerequisite that I have for online clients that I take on now is that they either have experience or I can get them on some kind of hybrid program where they're local to me and they can come and work with me at least for one session a month or every other week so that I can actually get a look at them in person and teach them the exercises in person before I send them off on their own. There is going to be an entry point for pretty much anybody to do some kind of strength training. And I think where the message gets mixed up a little bit is what people think when I say strength training.
Okay.
Strength training could be something simple for somebody who isn't doing any strength training at all and is maybe like morbidly obese, has 100 pounds to lose or something like that. Like strength training is just something that makes you stronger. It doesn't have anything necessarily to do with lifting weights or putting a barbell on your back or even holding a dumbbell. For somebody who hasn't done any strength training and is incredibly weak, standing up and down from a seated position on a bench for reps of 10 without any weight or even holding on to a TRX strap or something like that is going to progress you into being stronger than you are now. And you build from there. That's your entry point.
Yeah, there's a big misconception that you have to be lifting heavy from the get-go. It's whatever stimulates your muscle. Even if it just means 10 body squats from a bench, that's the entry point to get you bigger and stronger as life goes on. Sometimes people let their ego, what we call ego lifting, right? I can't do as much as XYZ, then I'm not going to do anything. And that's a big misconception.
I think you said too, it's like people think that it's just lifting heavy. Heavy is a relative term and strong's a relative term. If you're 250 pounds, that's heavy. So simply moving that amount of weight through space on and off of a bench for you right now, that's heavy.
You had mentioned that you train professional athletes and now you deal mainly with the general population. What would you say is the biggest difference between general population mindset and these athletes who are already disciplined?
There are certain situations where you see crossovers, and there are even at the professional level of athletes who just show up because they think that they have to, and they're not the hardest worker in the room. And then you have athletes who clearly see that this sport they're playing can provide a really good future for them too. And then I think too, there's just regular general population adults who think the same way, in that putting in the work in the gym and building strength and staying strong can provide them with a better future. They
Hmm.
understand that the work that they're putting in now is going to help them later. Where I do think general population people who are just trying to lose weight quick, or they're looking for a quick fix, they just show up and go through the motions, and they're not really looking to have accountability placed on them.
Yeah, I mention often that there are some times when people come up to me and they ask me about my weight loss and my body transformation. And I tell them, and halfway through the conversation, I could see it in their eyes, you're not going to do anything about it. And it's sad. And I mentioned to Jody and to other guests, man, if I could bottle that up, that desire to want to, man, we'd all be millionaires. And so what do you think is the biggest barrier to people really getting over that hump?
Some people just can't wrap their heads around the idea that it's very simple to lose weight. I use that word simple. I don't think
Yeah.
that it's
Hmm.
simple is easy, right? And it's the thing right now online, this whole like, and I'm sure you guys have seen it, men are being accused of mansplaining simple
Hmm.
concepts, and women are saying that these men are being degrading or too blunt. I can be a little bit blunt sometimes, and sort some of these guys present their ideas in maybe a little bit of a rude manner. It's just like trying to cut through the that's out there. I think there's a lot
Mhm.
of women who are preying the insecurities of women to sell their fitness programs. They're
Hmm.
blaming hormones and promoting that victim mentality. I think we all know, sitting in this room at the end of the day, like if you want to lose weight, obviously everything else that's going on in your life, your hormones and your age, they play a factor. But at the end of the day, if you're having trouble losing weight, it probably has something to do with the amount of food you're putting in your mouth.
Yep.
A lot of people, if they would just buckle down and do the work of figuring out exactly how much food they are putting in their mouth, they could really set themselves up for a lifetime of success with the simple realization of, I really thought that I was eating 1,200 calories a day, but when I started weighing my food and counting, it was actually like 2,500.
I wasn't
You know what I
tracking
mean?
Yeah.
oil.
You're not tracking. You think that you're having a tablespoon of peanut butter, but you're actually having two. And like in a single occurrence, that might not sound like a lot,
Mhm.
70 calories. But if you're doing, if you can find 4 or 5 examples of that somebody's doing on one single
Mhm.
day, that's 300 or 400 calories, and 300 or 400 calories over the course of an entire week. That's
Mhm.
2,000 extra calories. That's enough to keep somebody out of a calorie deficit, right? And a
Mhm.
lot of people look at a diet as like a day-to-day thing,
Mhm.
when really like being in a calorie deficit means like maintaining a calorie deficit like week over week. And so
Mhm.
people will go like Monday to Thursday or Monday to Friday thinking that they're dialed in, thinking that they're eating in a calorie deficit, not accounting for the fact that they're underestimating a lot of the food that they're eating, or they're not measuring correctly. I think the average person underestimates how many calories they eat. It's 20 to 50% every day.
Wow.
And then, so you have these people who are going Monday to Thursday or Monday to Friday, and they think they're eating in a calorie deficit. They're not, but they also think that by being dialed in the way that they were, they've now earned themselves the opportunity to eat a little bit more on the weekend. They already weren't in a calorie deficit. And it just starts this endless cycle of assuming, because all they were eating throughout the week was chicken and salad and whatever else, they would get these answers if they would just buckle down and take a closer look at what they were putting in their mouth.
Hey Barry, let me jump in. I love your passion because we hit a nerve.
I agree with them too.
That's what I'm saying. I love it. I love it because this is the message people need to hear. Stop kidding yourself that you're in a calorie deficit. Do the numbers, be legit to yourself, be honest to yourself. And Barry is
Yeah.
pointing it out straightforward. Thank you.
People will argue with you. They'll sit there and argue with you. Oh, I know what I'm eating, blah, blah, blah. And it's no, you don't, though. Like, you don't. I know they don't know you on a personal level, but from my personal experience, which is
Hmm.
15 years, I think that's a pretty
Yeah.
long time, along with the scientific data that says
Mhm.
most people underestimate how much food they're eating, including dietitians and personal trainers. There's literally studies that say that
Yeah.
dietitians and personal trainers underestimate their calorie intake by 10 to 20%. You have
Hmm.
to consider all of that. I'm not asking you to do this forever. I'm asking
Hmm.
you to do it long enough so that you can learn from it and see that there's nothing wrong with you.
I do a presentation for my church, and I tell them how I walk over 10,000 steps, I work 6 days a week, and then I tell them the amount of calories I eat. But before I tell them the amount of calories I eat, I tell them the average sedentary American eats 3,800 calories per day. I ask them, now I walk over 10,000 steps and I lift for about an hour and a half, 6 days a week. How many calories do you think I eat? And they all say 4,600, 4,800. I'm like, no, 2,600 is my maintenance calorie. And yet they think they're in a diet.
Yeah. If you just set a calorie goal and even just a calorie and a protein goal. If I'm starting
Hmm.
somebody out, generally, we don't focus a lot on carbs and fats. If you give somebody some flexibility with their carb and their fat intake, that allows for them to have a little bit of freedom with their food choices. You can give them a calorie target and a protein target, and they can stay within 20% adherence with that goal. Like, they're going to see changes if they're measuring things correctly. People want meal plans, which generally are a bad idea. But if you track your food for 2 weeks or a month or 2 months, over the course of that time, you lose a bunch of weight. You now have weeks or months of data showing what you ate during that time. You have a meal plan now. You have a meal plan that you made yourself.
Yeah,
And
for sure. Yeah,
there's a lot of
because
victims out there. People want to believe that there's something wrong with them. And I think the only thing that's really wrong with a lot of people is that they're gullible. They believe a lot of the shit they see online. There's a lot of people out there that are making up problems just so that they can make up solutions.
So they
If
can
there's
stay
something wrong
in
with your,
denial.
yeah,
Mhm.
and if there's something wrong with your hormones, I do want to be empathetic to the idea that in some situations, there's things that can make weight loss harder for you. But if there's something wrong with your hormones, then you need to talk to your doctor. Metabolism Maggie on Instagram or whatever, the
I
hormone lady.
I tell
Talk
people all
to a
the
doctor,
time.
somebody who's going to do your blood work, find out if there's actually something wrong with your hormones instead of just it's pretty crazy to just assume that something is wrong with your hormone.
Yeah,
If you think about it,
No,
I
somebody
it's
have a
a
would rather
it's so
believe
common.
would
I have
rather
a
believe that there's
thyroid
something
issue.
wrong.
Before I got it dialed in, I was having trouble losing weight. But that had nothing to do with the effort I was putting in. I was putting
Mhm.
in the effort. I just needed to dial. But there's a lot of people who want a pill in place of the effort. So once I got it dialed in, the weight came off the way I wanted to. And yes, you're right. People can't, they're looking for excuses instead of putting in the hard work of tracking your calories and actually hitting the gym.
No, it's crazy how you read in groups that maybe you have a hormonal imbalance and what supplement do you have to sell this person? That is the first thing that you are suggesting instead of saying, hey, maybe you should talk to your doctor
Yep.
and have some blood work
Hmm.
done. It's always somebody that has some supplements link or something. And it's just, you have to be mindful of what you expose yourself to. Losing weight is simple, but the problem is all the nonsense out there with the quick fixes. I don't want to track my calories. I don't want to weigh my food because this person says if I take this supplement that's only $110 a month, that I can improve my cortisol levels and improve my gut health. And it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
insanity.
Gut health is another one. But it's funny because it's like there's a lot of maybes. Maybe it's your gut health. Maybe it's your hormones. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that. Those are all maybes, but
Hmm.
you eating too much is a probably.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's proven to be the
Yeah.
most likely scenario.
Yeah. That's what we all eat. Well, we may not have the
Yeah.
same hormone imbalance, but we all eat. There's another Instagram comment you made that had Jody and I in stitches. We're going to put it here on the screen. It's another misconception. They said hitting the gym is great, but if you're barely reaching 3,000 to 4,000 steps, you're still in the not very active zone. Walk or run 12 to 15K steps daily because fitness goes beyond lifting weights. You wrote, if someone is only getting 3 to 4 steps, maybe we just see if they can get to 5 to 6 or 7 before we hit them with 12 to 15K. Tell us about that
I
little
did say that.
interaction.
I do stand up comedy part time, you guys.
So, what are you getting at? You're right. You're dead on. And I like the humor and the sarcasm you put there. But tell the people what you're getting at.
I'm just getting at the idea of meeting people where they're at. So if somebody is only getting 3 or 4,000 steps a day, of course it would be amazing if they could get 10,000 steps a day. Nobody's saying that it wouldn't, but it would also be beneficial to them to get 1,000 more than that, or 2,000 more than that, or 3,000 more than that. And then when they can consistently do that, you add 1,000. That's how habits are formed. Atomic Habits 101. You're just like starting from the ground up, and it's got to be habitual. And I think that if you can't make it a habit, then it's going to be really hard for you to maintain whatever results you get from doing the thing. If you can't make that a habit, it's going to be really hard for you to maintain whatever you get out of it. We can get into a lot of the fad diets and those things that work quickly. They only work as well or as long as you're able to stick to them. Basically, what I was trying to get at is, and I say this a lot, habits are so important because habits are the floor. Fit people who work out,
Yeah.
people who enjoy fitness. We enjoy going out. I like going out for burgers. I like having a drink every now and again. I eat too much more often than I should, but I also have a foundation of habits that are non-negotiable to me. And I like in a way that I don't even think about them. I get protein in with every meal. Sometimes I eat chips or whatever. I don't need to have a protein shake with chips or
Yeah.
anything like that. But I make sure that I'm hydrated because I know from experience and just having it ingrained into my daily life that I feel better and I have more energy when I'm hydrated. I eat less food overall when I'm getting protein with every meal. And I eat less food overall when I'm well slept. These are habits that lead not just to being a healthier person, but they're foundational weight loss habits. All of these things are proven to show that if you do them consistently, you're going to eat less food overall. It's going to help you manage your appetite. So why would you not prioritize getting more protein, going to bed a little bit earlier, managing your stress? At the end of the day, when you fall off the rails, you can't fall any further than this floor of habits you've built. If you go out and you eat a meal or whatever, that's okay. When you come back, you're going to come back to the foundation that you've built. For some people, it's literally the other way around.
Yes, yes. And I agree because you mentioned sleep and this notion of habit. For me, if I don't get a good night's sleep, I may not give in because of the foundation of habits, but I'm more tempted to eat not as good as I normally do. Sleep is so important for me. For somebody else, it could be stress management. But that's why you have to understand yourself. You have to really be true and not look at the other person. I have friends who can burn the candle at both ends and still seem to function, right? In the fitness industry. And so everybody's different.
Fitness and nutrition, a lot of people look at it as an on and off switch. When their weight gets out of control or their doctor tells
Yes.
them that they need to get healthy, they're going to turn the switch on. It's time to work out every day and try to prep meals for 3 hours or hop on some short-term fad diet because they think they need to get in shape right now. Maybe it's a vacation or something like that. Whereas I encourage people, and this is something that I learned from Precision Nutrition and John Berardi, was like, if you can treat it more like a dial,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? And for somebody like for us, like the lowest volume is like 30 because we have this base of habits, so we can never really turn the dial any lower than 30. So you have to build up the habits that give you turn it down so low, right? Whereas other people, when life gets tough, they can turn the volume down all the way and then they just end up falling off the rails and it's hard to turn the volume back up. That was good.
Yeah. So I work out 6 days a week, but within those 6 days, there's a 45-minute walk, there's 10,000 steps, there's weightlifting, but I also do in the morning mobility and at night. If I miss a day, I'm missing everything else. It becomes that notion that it's a habit. By the next day, I'm back on track most of the time because it's become an ingrained habit. Another thing we do here on the Mindful Muscle podcast, we don't diet. If we want to lose weight, we eat less of what we're already eating. And if we want to gain weight, we eat more of what we're already eating. We don't play this yo-yo quick fad diet thing. You have to be able to eat what's sustainable to you long term. And Jody and I come at it from two different perspectives. I'm 100% plant-based. She is not. And yet we achieve the same goal of losing over 140 pounds together. Why? Because the principles don't change. Get your protein,
Right.
lift, and stay disciplined.
How do you help beginners overcome the fear and build confidence in their training? Because I know a lot of people, that's one of their first questions when they're starting out is, I'm scared of going into the gym. I'm scared of working with a personal trainer. How would you help ease that person's mind?
You just show them. In my situation, it's been a long time since I've had to get clients in a gym setting. I'm fortunate enough now that when people come to me, they're, I guess, in business terms, what you would call a hot lead, somebody who's already interested in working with me. And so some of them, they'll outright say, I'm scared, I'm nervous, but they come in and I show them. You know what I mean? I meet them where they're at. I think that's important. You have to meet them where they're at and work your way up from there. I'm always extra careful with people the first time that I work with them because I don't want to get people to do things that they can't do yet. I want to spend that first hour with them, whereas like everything that I show them, they can do. And I guess I want to show them, I want to get them, I don't want them to do anything they can't do, but if I can still get them to do something that they've never done, then that is how you get somebody comfortable in a gym. Over 15 years, I've developed a skill for being able to show people how to do things that they probably didn't think they could do, or something they used to be able to do and didn't think they could do anymore. But I am able to show them that they still can do that thing. They just needed a little push. But I think it's very important to meet people where they're at and bring them along at a pace that is comfortable for them. And I think exercise selection is very important with a lot of people and not forcing them into positions that they're uncomfortable with. One thing that I've built my home studio gym around is making people as comfortable as they can be when I get them to do challenging things. So if I want somebody, if we're going to squat, like I know that like most 50 or 60-year-olds are probably still capable of squatting a lot of weight, but it's going to be very uncomfortable if I put that on a barbell and get them to put it on their back. So I have a safety squat bar because that's not going to put their shoulders in a position. It's got basically got pillows on it and handles they can hold. Oh, but it's a safety bar squat. They don't care. Like, all they know is that they just squatted 135 pounds and they never thought that they would ever be able to do that again. For some people who don't have a history associated with exercise, it's quite possible that they've never done that in their life and they're now doing it for the first time ever at 50, 60, or even 70 years old in some cases, especially like we were talking about earlier, some of these women who were raised on the idea that they don't need to get strong or they shouldn't lift heavy or they shouldn't push themselves. Once you get people comfortable lifting with the trap bar, the amount of high fives I doled out over trap bar PRs in my 15 years as a personal trainer is insane. People love it, and we just call it a deadlift. We don't call it a trap bar deadlift versus a barbell deadlift. It's not, that's not as lifting twice your body weight with the trap bar isn't as cool as doing it with barbell. Like, nobody gives
Who
a
cares?
shit, Kyle.
I'm a big fan of the trap bar. If somebody wanted to work with you, what's the best way for them to reach out and contact you?
Usually a lot of people will reach out through DM on Instagram at Built by Barry, or just Barry at builtbybarry.ca is my email address. Those are the quickest ways to get a hold of me. I'm very responsive in my DMs, so shoot me a message. Even if people just have questions or want to talk shop, I told myself this year I wanted to get back to doing a lot of networking and connecting with other trainers and things like that, because I think once you become a business owner and you move yourself out of the gym space, I don't want to say I'm lonely, because obviously I work with clients all day long, have a lot of conversations, but I don't have a lot of conversations with other coaches anymore. And so when you put me in a room like this, I go on tangents.
That's good.
That's good for you.
One last question from me. So, Jody's big into CrossFit. I'm more into traditional bodybuilding. What do you like to do personally?
I don't CrossFit. I also don't consider myself a bodybuilder. And I also don't really like the word functional. I just take everything that I've learned over the years, like what feels good for me. I really enjoy moving athletically. Unfortunately, I live in Ontario, Canada, which is cold most of the year. I do a lot of dumbbell work. I like to use the tools that I have, like the trap bar, the safety squat bar. I like to move heavy weights without compromising my joints as much as I can. I love to throw medicine balls around. That's one of the ways that I like to maintain athleticism. I'm very lucky in my home gym here. As you can see behind me, this is a big concrete wall, so I can throw medicine balls at this which is also very good for my older clients. I
Hmm.
think that is something that people need to focus a little bit more on maintaining, is their ability to be
Explosive.
powerful and explosive.
Hmm.
I prioritize a lot of unilateral training, especially as I get older. I just find that it's a lot easier on my back and hips to do unilateral work as opposed to bilateral squats in particular. I have not bench pressed a barbell probably in 5 years. I much prefer dumbbells, feels better on my body.
All right. I want to hear one final sales pitch why strength training is for everybody, no matter what their gender
Yes.
is. Whether you mentioned working with 50, 60, 70-year-olds, no matter the age, why should everybody strength train?
Because strength training is, and again, we talked about like how good those other modalities are for your health, but I think cardio and stuff, like cardio is a very good tool for adding years to your life, but strength training is a very good tool for adding life to those years, because as you get older, you want to maintain your physical independence, your ability to exist and thrive on your own. If you don't stay strong and maintain your muscle mass, you'll lose your ability to do that like faster than you could imagine. We all have loved ones who could have either survived a little bit longer or lived a high quality of life longer had they prioritized their strength and spent time in the gym. Even as personal trainers, I find myself thinking, sometimes feeling guilty that you could have done more to help these
Hmm.
people, but it goes back to, you can't help people if they don't want to be helped. But hopefully the more we talk about it, the more people will start to listen to what we're saying and understand what they can do for themselves just by spending a couple hours a week in the gym.
Barry, thank you for being on the Mindful Muscle podcast. Until next time, everybody, you can follow him. Built by Barry. Hit him up with a DM. He's looking to talk shop, and perhaps you guys can make a connection. Until next time on the Mindful Muscle podcast, be blessed.
Thank you, guys.